And here is something critical that people in the West are not paying enough attention to. Every single Gulf country has quietly turned against America in this conflict. Not because they are radical, not because they are anti-Western, but because America asked them to join the fight against Iran. America asked them to stand shoulder to shoulder in this war, and every single one of them said no. Clearly, firmly, no. A senior figure who has been vocal on this topic, a well-respected Saudi journalist who has spent years analyzing the region, put it plainly. What is happening in the Gulf right now will not stay in the Gulf. This is not a regional problem anymore. This is a global problem. The food crisis that is coming, the oil crisis that is already beginning, these things will reach every corner of the world. No country will be untouched. No economy will be immune. Do not comfort yourself with the idea that this is someone else's problem. It is all of our problem now. Let us talk about the oil situation, because this is where things get truly frightening for the global economy. Iran has made something absolutely clear. It intends to keep hitting continuously, without pause, without giving anyone a chance to recover or regroup. The stated objective is to keep oil prices climbing, to make sure the markets never settle, to make sure the pressure never lets up. And Iranian officials have been blunt about the number they are targeting. Be ready, they have said, for $200 per barrel. $200. Let that sink in. When Iran was approached about a ceasefire, their response was calculated and cold. They said they know America has taken a beating, they know Israel has taken a beating, and they know exactly what a ceasefire right now would mean. It would give the other side time to rest, time to rearm, time to regroup, and then they would come back harder. Iran said it does not want to give anyone that opportunity. The pressure will continue, the strikes will continue. At the same time, Hezbollah has re-entered the fight with a ferocity that caught military analysts off guard. Starting from the night operations, they launched over 100 rockets, 100 in a single night. The skies over Israel have become a very different place from what they were even a few months ago. The situation on the ground has deteriorated in ways that are genuinely shocking to those who are monitoring this closely. And America's much-celebrated Patriot defense system, the one that was supposed to be the gold standard of missile interception, the one that was marketed to the world as nearly perfect, it has failed badly, completely. The interception rate that is now coming out from credible sources is somewhere around 4 to 5%. 4 to 5%, which means for every 100 missiles fired, 95 to 96 of them are getting through. And for years, the world was told that this system was the answer, that this system would protect allies, that this system was worth the billions spent on it. Something is happening right now that could change the entire world order forever. Not just a battle, not just a war. We are talking about a moment in history where the most powerful nation on earth might be forced to pack up and leave the Middle East for good. And if that happens, nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever be the same again. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is one of the most significant developments we have seen in decades. This is Pulse America News, and I am Kundi. Let us get into it. Let us start with what is on everyone's mind right now. Russian media has just broken a story that is sending shockwaves across every intelligence community, every government war room, and every financial market on the planet. The claim is extraordinary. America is reportedly in active discussions to somehow convince Iran to stop its attacks. Think about what that means for a second. The most militarily funded nation in the history of this world is sitting at a table asking for relief. That is not a position of strength. That is a position of desperation. And here's what makes this even more astonishing. Look at what has been happening on the ground. A single missile came in, just one, and it landed inside Israeli territory without a single defense system having the courage, the capability, or even the awareness to stop it. Not one radar detected it early enough. Not one early warning system triggered in time. Not one shelter alert went out before it was already too late. People could not even reach safety because the sirens never sounded. Because when a system system cannot detect a threat, it cannot warn against it, and when it cannot warn against it, people are left completely exposed. Now, imagine that reality playing out not once, but repeatedly, night after night. The destruction that has already taken place is something that words can barely describe. What happened overnight, the scale of it, the intensity of it, is beyond what most people following this situation from the outside are even aware of. So here's where things stand today. America is looking for a way out. Two conversations are reportedly happening at the same time. The first is about a temporary withdrawal, a short-term pullback of American military personnel and equipment from the region. The reasoning being that soldiers are being killed, defense systems are being destroyed, the losses are piling up in ways that cannot be hidden much longer. A temporary exit would at least stop the bleeding while negotiations continue. But the second conversation is far more dramatic, far more historic. There are discussions reportedly taking place about a permanent withdrawal, a full and final removal of American military bases from the region. The proposal being considered involves giving a deadline, 2 months, 3 months, a specific date by which American forces would be completely gone, and in return, Iran would be asked to stand down. Russia would serve as a guarantor of that agreement, and a new chapter in Middle Eastern history would begin. This is the kind of breakthrough that historians write entire books about. This is the kind of moment that reshapes the world map, and it is happening right now, in real time, as you are watching this. Now let us understand the full picture here. Iran made its conditions clear. It said that any path toward a ceasefire runs through one central demand. America must remove its military bases from the region. America must leave. That has been the message, stated openly, stated firmly, and stated repeatedly. And now, for the first time, there are credible reports suggesting that America may actually be considering doing exactly that. Meanwhile, what is happening across the Gulf? The situation there is deeply alarming for anyone connected to global trade and global stability. Travelers are stranded. Flights coming into Gulf countries are nearly empty. People who would normally be heading into the region are instead fleeing from it. The incoming passenger numbers have dropped to almost nothing. The Gulf states, nations that have built their modern prosperity on stability, on being hubs of commerce and aviation and finance, are watching that stability evaporate. The third defense system, the one that was supposed to serve as another layer of protection, has been destroyed entirely. And now America is scrambling to bring in replacement systems from South Korea. South Korea! Think about what that means geopolitically. South Korea exists under the constant shadow of North Korea. Pulling advanced defense hardware from South Korea and shipping it to the Middle East means leaving South Korea with less of what it needs to protect itself. It means telling an ally in Northeast Asia, "You are on your own right now. We need your equipment elsewhere." That is not the behavior of a superpower in control. That is the behavior of a military stretched dangerously thin, making desperate decisions under pressure. And here is the thing about Trump's position through all of this. He has been telling the world that America is winning, that things are going according to plan, that the war is being managed slowly and strategically. But the facts on the ground tell a completely different story. Iranian missiles are not being stopped. The Strait of Hormuz, which America promised to keep open, which American officials said they would protect for all shipping, is no longer under American control. Oil tankers are passing through at their own risk. America publicly said it would protect those ships. It cannot. That promise is broken. And then there is the incident involving the schoolgirls, which has become a moment of serious embarrassment for the American administration. Initially, Trump claimed that Iran itself was responsible. Then evidence emerged that contradicted that narrative. And then Trump reversed himself, saying he was not sure and would look into it later. This is the leader of the most powerful nation on earth, caught off guard, unsure, and inconsistent on one of the most sensitive and emotionally charged incidents of this entire conflict. The world noticed. Every government noticed. Every intelligence agency noticed. Because the truth is becoming harder and harder to hide. America miscalculated Iran. It miscalculated how Iran would respond. The assumption, reportedly shared at the highest levels, was that Iran's supreme leadership might be eliminated in a strike, that with that leadership gone, the response would be chaotic and uncoordinated. Instead, Iran responded with precision. Iran responded with scale. Iran crossed every red line that America thought would hold, every one, and then it went further. The plans that were supposed to work did not work. The regime change operation that was being quietly discussed did not succeed. The Kurdish option on the ground that was being explored produced nothing. The ground forces that were meant to be a decisive factor were not. And every day that passes, every night of incoming missiles, every oil tanker that turns back, every empty airport terminal in the Gulf adds another brick to the wall of evidence that America is in a position it cannot win from. Now, let us think forward, because this is where it gets historic. If America does withdraw, either temporarily or permanently, what happens to the world order? First and most visibly, Iran emerges as the dominant power in the Middle East. Not just a regional player, not just an influential nation, the dominant power. With no American military presence to check it, with its own forces proven in battle, with its missile capabilities having humiliated some of the most sophisticated defense systems ever built, Iran will have a power and a credibility that no country in the region can match. And Iran will push further. It will demand that all sanctions be lifted. It will sit at the table not as a nation seeking a deal, but as a nation that has won.
And once Iran is dominant, the Gulf states will have to adjust. These nations that have spent decades aligning themselves economically and militarily with America will have to find new partners. And the two names at the top of that list are China and Russia. China has been quietly but aggressively positioning itself across the Middle East for years, building trade relationships, opening financial channels, establishing infrastructure. The moment America leaves, China moves in. That is not speculation. That is the logic of geopolitics. Nature abhors a vacuum, and great powers rush to fill them. Russia, too, will see this as a historic opportunity. With its role as a potential guarantor in any Iran ceasefire agreement, it positions itself as a power broker in the world's most strategically critical region. Russia gets to say it helped bring peace. Russia gets to establish a new kind of influence, and America gets to watch all of this from the outside. For Israel, the implications are catastrophic. The entire rationale for American military bases in the region was, at least in part, to provide a security umbrella over Israel. With that umbrella gone, Israel faces a completely different strategic reality. The partnerships it has relied on, the deterrence it counted on, the invisible hand that kept its enemies cautious, all of that changes. Israel has begun to understand, according to various reports, that its own strategies have not worked. The special units, the nighttime precision operations, the decades of military investment, none of it has been enough to stop what is coming at it from multiple directions. And think about what Yemen entering this conflict more actively means. You already have Iran. You already have Hezbollah. Now add Yemen. That is 3 active fronts, each capable of sustained operations, each able to strike at different targets across a wide geographic area. The energy market alone, just from what this means for oil and gas flows, will shake every economy that depends on imported energy. And that is most of them. I need you to understand something. What we are witnessing is not a regional war that the world can afford to watch from a safe distance. The journalist I mentioned earlier, the one who has spent years covering Gulf affairs, said it clearly. This reaches everyone. Food prices, fuel prices, supply chains, every aspect of daily life that depends on the stability of global trade routes and global energy markets is now at risk, at serious risk. And what does all of this mean for America's place in the world? Look at what has already happened. Its missile defense systems have failed publicly and repeatedly. Its promises to protect shipping lanes have collapsed. Its military presence is under genuine threat of being expelled. Its allies in the region refuse to fight alongside it. Its internal political communication on the conflict has been confused and inconsistent.
If it withdraws, the world will see it. If it stays and continues to take losses without being able to turn the tide, the world will see that too. Either path leads to the same destination, a world where America's ability to project power, to be the guarantor of security for its allies, to be the policeman of international trade, is fundamentally questioned, not just by rivals, by allies. Taiwan will notice. Japan will notice. Nations in Europe that have built their security assumptions on American commitment will notice. And once that credibility is gone, once that trust is broken, it does not come back easily. It may not come back at all. This is the moment that historians will look back on, the moment when the post-World War II order, the order that placed one nation above all others on the global stage, began its final unraveling. Britain went through this. It was the superpower of its time. It controlled the seas. It set the rules. And then it did not. And now it is a mid-sized nation with a proud history, but a fraction of its former global weight. America is now approaching its own version of that turning point. This is Pulse America News. I am Kundi. Watch this space, because what comes next will define the world your children and grandchildren will grow up in. Share this if you believe people need to understand what is really happening. Leave your thoughts below, and stay with us as we continue to follow this story wherever it leads.